Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Double Trouble Pod. My name's Phil Double. I'm joined again by Paul Mitchell, Director of Siyavuma Sports Group based in South Africa. Today we are going to look at the AFCON. The first round of matches has been concluded, so we've got a little bit of an idea of what's going on with the teams. We've had a chance to watch a few matches, and we'll just give a little bit of a rundown of what's going on and what our thoughts have been, and some projections as to how we think the different teams will get on in the tournament so far. So, Paul, week one is over of AFCON. There's been some entertaining games, some not so quite entertaining. Shall we take a look at the group stages first and give our thoughts on how's it's been going?
Yeah, I mean, look, conditions in the AFCON, it looks very, very hot, I must say. I think that's definitely affected the level in some games, or most games. I mean, you can see the humidity, you can see the heat. But there's been some entertaining games. There's certainly been some shocks. I mean, when you first looked at the first 9 games, you were almost saying it would be 9 kind of home wins for the home team. But, it hasn't gone like that. And it could be a tournament of shocks given the conditions. And, I think there's a difference in conditions as well in terms of the geographics of the country, for these teams that are playing further away from Abidjan. It seems to be a little bit different. But yeah, so far, so good. I've enjoyed it like everybody else. It's the tournament we all look forward to, and yeah, very interesting.
We're going to sort of go group by group, just give our opinions on who we think the teams are to look out for. And then we'll come back and take a look at the first round of matches that have gone so far. So, Group A, we've got Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, and Guinea-Bissau. Thoughts on the teams that should progress from that group?
Look, I mean, before the tournament, you were looking at that and you were saying Ivory Coast, Nigeria, slam dunk to go through. Being honest, Equatorial Guinea have performed, beyond expectation, really. They've done really well. I mean, Nigeria getting the result yesterday, I looked at that game and I said to myself, Ivory Coast, home advantage, big crowd support. Nigeria have been on a terrible run of form prior to the tournament. So I was looking at that, and I'll be honest, I was undecided, and I was thinking it could be a draw, and then I watched the game, and to be fair, Nigeria, surprised me, but I think the change in formation for Nigeria worked. They went sort of 3 at the back, 3 centre halves type scenario in instances of the game. I thought, the boys that came in really showed the sort of their worth. Lookman had a great game. I thought the structure was really good, and they kept the ball flowing. They were dangerous on the counter. Ivory Coast, they huffed and puffed. Didn't really show much. So yeah, I mean, it was a good game to watch for a spectator. Just looking at the group now. Yeah, I mean, Ivory Coast have got to be careful. I could see Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria going through, to be honest.
Yeah, shock for me as well. I had Ivory Coast with hometown advantage going quite deep into the tournament, actually. And I had Nigeria somewhere near the final as well. So, very interesting start to that group for me as well. Yeah.
I think it was a penalty as well, Phil. I do think it was a penalty. There was definitely a kick there. So I think the VAR and the officials got that right. And I think it just rocked Ivory Coast. They were on the back foot, really. They were huffing and puffing, but they didn't really. And I think when you look at the squad, and the same can be said for the Giants, Cameroon, for Ghana. When you actually look at the squads on paper, they're not as powerful and as wow factor when you look at them as previous years. I just don't think in them 3 teams you've got that same thing. Nigeria, you haven't got that wow, but you've got the players in there when you look at, like I say, the Iwobis, the Lookmans, the Osmans. You've still got a collection of players there which, if you get the right combinations, they should go far. Even though prior to the tournament, they've not been at the best.
They've got good experience, playing at a good level. Should carry them through.
It should do, yeah. It should do. But like I say, when you look at the other teams, powerhouses, I don't think they're as powerful as what they've been in years gone by. I think it could be a tournament that surprises us. Really, it's going to be difficult to pick a winner today, I would say. Do I think Nigeria will go close? I think they'll be there or thereabouts, but I'm not convinced they've got the full mettle to get it over the line and win it. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they won it. So it's one of them.
Okay, moving on to Group B, then we've got Cape Verde, Egypt, Mozambique and Ghana. Some interesting games already in this group. Egypt and Mozambique drawing in the opener, which was probably a bit of a shock. And Ghana losing to Cape Verde was definitely a shock. And then last night's games also as well. I had Egypt and Ghana walking this group. I'm not sure on reflection that's going to be the case.
Again, it's on paper. It's on paper, and then it's reality for me. You know, when you look at Ghana's squad on paper, you don't go wow. To be honest, for me, you look and you think, yeah, it's okay, but it's not strong on paper. I don't think it's as strong. I mean, look, Kudos coming back last night was a big thing for them, and he showed his quality. But then after that, I mean, some of the football they played was, yeah, they did well to get in front. You know, they were in front, then they got pegged back, they got in front again. But when I look at Ghana's team on paper, for me, it's not wow. Egypt, always be organised, always technically very good. Again, the heat for Egypt, even though Egypt gets very, very hot itself, it's very dry, like South Africa. Whereas in the West Africa, it's very humid. So it's the humidity that players, struggle with. And I think the Egyptians had a little bit of that. But you know what I liked about Egypt was the way that the strength of character to come back. And it's going to be interesting going into the last games. But from the group, I expect Cape Verde and Egypt to go through.
Okay. Probably a bit of an upset there. Okay, let's move to Group C. We've got Senegal, Cameroon, Guinea and Gambia. Senegal winning the first game and Cameroon and Guinea drawing 1-1. I think I had Senegal and Cameroon. I think there's a bit of a theme going here with my historical mind of bigger countries getting through.
Yeah, I mean, look, looking at the group before that and looking at the tournament before, you'd say Senegal favourites, strong team, organised, been together sort of with the same coach for a few years, so they've got that continuity. They've got some good players. I think them beating Gambia the other day was expected, but I don't think at the end of the day it's bad for Gambia in terms of getting beat by Senegal, because Senegal are really strong. I do feel Senegal will win it, or win the tournament, to be honest. Definitely I think they'll be in the final. When I look at Cameroon, again, I don't see the wow in terms of the players that are actually on the team sheets. It wouldn't be a team that would fear me if I was in charge of a decent African team. Obviously, I want Cameroon to do well because I've very good friends with Samuel Eto'o. I've worked with Samuel extensively over the last few years, so I really want Cameroon to do well for him. Do I expect them to go through? I think it's going to be tight. I think Senegal will win the group. I think Gambia will beat Guinea. I'm going to put my neck on the line. I'm saying Gambia's going to beat Guinea. Gambia's not a bad side on the day. Tom St. Fleet's the coach. He's done a brilliant job as Tom with Gambia. They've got some decent players playing at good levels in Europe. They're used to the conditions. They're used to the humidity. Yes, they got beat by Senegal, but I could just see them getting a result against Guinea. And if they do, then Cameroon have got to be careful. Who do I think will go through? I think it'll be Senegal and Gambia, but like I say, my wish is for Cameroon. But I think it could be Senegal and Gambia, but at this stage you just never know.
Okay, Group D, we've got Burkina Faso, Angola, Algeria and Mauritania. First round of games, we saw Algeria and Angola getting a 1-1 draw. Burkina Faso and Mauritania, Burkina Faso won 1-0 in that game. Algeria, obviously, strong favourites in that group for me. I think I've got Angola possibly in second. So interesting that they had a draw in the first game, but we'll see. We'll see if Mauritania and Burkina Faso can get anything against either of them in the games coming up.
I think Angola was the last minute penalty, right? Yeah, I think for their draw. So that was a good draw for Angola. Not a bad result for Algeria, to be honest. Have to be a little bit careful when they play Burkina Faso because, if Angola were to beat Mauritania and Faso were to beat Algeria, it could give Algeria a problem. I feel from the group it'll be Algeria and Burkina Faso go through. However, it all depends on their game because it could, like I say, if Faso were to beat Algeria, all of a sudden Algeria, it's squeaky bum time. So I do expect Faso and Algeria, but it looks a little bit of a group of death at the minute because it could just be. I mean, it's them three. Mauritania, I don't really give much of a hope to, but interesting group. But I think Faso and Algeria.
Okay, Group E is obviously the one that you're probably most interested in. We've got Mali, Namibia, Tunisia and South Africa. Namibia beating Tunisia 1-0 in the first game and Mali 2-0 against South Africa. I think originally I had South Africa and Tunisia out of this one, so I'm not off to a great start on the first games. How about you?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, obviously connection with a couple of teams in this group as well. Namibia, we have a player, and South Africa, we have clients as well. Look, before the tournament, I looked at Mali's team before the tournament. Very, very strong on paper. Very, very strong on paper. Look, South Africa first half, better team, played some good football. Should have been 2 to 3-0 up. I mean, we missed a penalty, as we all know. And then there was 2 more chances which should have been goals. So I think at minimum we should have been 2-0 up. But we weren't. And second half, Mali changed the formation slightly, got a little bit on top, and then got the goal, which was a good free kick. But I think defensively the wall and position of the goalkeeper was not where I thought it should be, but it happens. And then obviously from that I just think South Africa lost their sort of shape and their mettle a little bit to come back in the game. I don't really think we have the game changers from the bench in the South African squad for numerous reasons. I think there's been a lot of debate on the squad, but at the end of the day, the squad's the squad. The coaches pick the squad. We've got to support the team. Looking at Namibia, unbelievable, fantastic result against Tunisia and well deserved. I mean, they played good football. They went there fearless. They know we're the underdogs. We're here to enjoy ourselves. We're here to compete. We're going to have a go. And by gosh, they had a go and they won the game, and deservedly so. They really put Tunisia on the back foot. So it's going to be interesting. I've heard comments that South Africa, it's not really a must-win against Namibia, but in all honesty, I believe it is a must-win game because, if you draw against Namibia, puts Namibia on 4, South Africa on 1. What South Africa then will be hoping for is to beat Tunisia and possibly either end up as one of the best third positions or Mali, beat Namibia. And I don't know, to be honest, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Is it goal difference or head-to-head? I'm not sure. But either way, if they draw with Namibia, then it's touch or go. So I think 4 points in that group is going to be definitely what you need even in third place, to be honest. I would think. So that is going to be a cracking game on Sunday night. Namibia, South Africa, Tunisia, Mali. I expect Mali to win. Comfortably. Yeah. I do. I think Tunisia, probably a little bit like some of the other teams, maybe struggling with the conditions. Would have been rocked by the first result, so I'd really have to dig deep, and not easy to come against a bowed up Mali who just won.
Yeah.
And especially Mali knowing that first half they were lucky against South Africa, so yeah, they might think the gods are in their favour. So tough group, but now you're going to ask me who do I fancy to go through. I have to say Mali and South Africa. I have to say that.
Caveat.
But there's a lot of people who are going to be on the same side as me and say, yeah. But difficult one. But I'm gonna go Mali, South Africa.
Okay, and obviously the group that everybody in Africa is watching: Morocco, Congo, Zambia, and the mighty Tanzania. Tanzania shocked actually by Morocco losing 3-0 in the first game, and Congo and Zambia with a 1-1 draw. Obviously, I had Tanzania to go through from this group with ease, 9 points, alongside Morocco. Obviously, that's not turning out to be the case, and honestly, I don't think it will be the case.
Well,
we'll be lucky to get a shot on
we
target.
we are both married to Tanzanians, and we've all of our children are half Tanzanian. So yeah, I mean, look, we don't get dinner at night if they lose the game. So, but on a serious note, look, I mean, Tanzania are always got, coming into the tournament. They're underdogs. Have done well to qualify. Personally, feel after the tournament, Tanzania have to rip it up and start again. In other words, go in a different direction, start to get some younger players into the squad, try to rebuild over the next sort of couple of years and try to have a 5-year plan. But, yeah, they got beat, but they did go down to 10 men. They didn't really have a shot on target. But they were in the game till the 70th minute because they were only, losing 1-0. So can always get a set piece, penalty, something can happen for you. But unfortunately they lost. So, we are hoping and praying they can turn it around in the next game. Morocco, strong favourites, strong favourites with Senegal for the tournament. I didn't think Morocco didn't impress me like I thought they may. I mean, obviously it's the first game, but we've probably taken a guide from the World Cup. I think it's a totally different tournament in a totally different place, totally different conditions to the World Cup. So it's not going to be the same. One or two good players, and I expect them to be there or thereabouts. Definitely I expect them to win the group. Who do I expect them to go through against? I'm going to stick my neck on the line. I'm going to go Zambia. I'm going to go Zambia.
Yeah, but so watching the Tanzania game, it certainly felt like Morocco went one up and went, yeah, they ain't going to score. Took the foot off the gas, and then after the red card, they really started pressing, got through with ease really, and then scored their other 2 goals. So, yeah, 3-0 probably a fair result in the end. Tanzania huffed and puffed a lot, but didn't really do much, to be honest.
I think, to be fair, credit to Tanzania for being there. Even though it's a bigger AFCON now and there's more teams qualify, so it's easier compared to the old system. Fair credit to them being there. They get into the finals, which is basically their goal. And like I say, they'll give a good show of themselves. But you can see a little bit what's happening with the team. You don't have to be a Einstein to work it out. You can be a mind reader and see what's happening. But I think there's a transitional stage there. No, they'll get it right. They've got some good young players coming through. You've still got the old sort of stalwarts that are still there and holding the team together. But I think they'll go through a transition in the next couple of years. And Tanzanian football certainly is on the up. So, I do expect them going forward to be, always there or thereabouts in terms of qualifying for the Nations Cup. And that's, for a country like Tanzania, that's a big achievement. So that can only bode well for the country and for the football in the country. So, yeah. But, yeah, Morocco, Zambia.
Good, so let's look at the groups. Biggest surprise or shock? What's your feelings on that?
Biggest surprise, really, or shock. I mean, Namibia was a surprise and a shock. I mean, I'm not surprised with Namibia. I'm not surprised. I was shocked they beat Tunisia to a degree, but I wasn't shocked after watching the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they played well. And I wasn't surprised because Namibia, if you look at the previous games up into the tournament, I mean, they held South Africa to a draw, which was it's a decent result. They're solid. I think they've got a young, up-and-coming new coach who knows the players inside out. I mean, let's be honest, they've not had a league in Namibia for some time. So, it's very difficult when you've got... I mean, they have got players playing outside, generally in South Africa. But it's very difficult. But Namibia do produce good players. I mean, Shelalili, for example, look what he's done. And Shelalili, to be honest, he had 2 or 3 good chances that normally would be slam dunk for him to score. But it was just one of them games. But, I mean, Peter's a good player. You know, you've got Dion Otto, who's a great player. You know, there's been a great servant in South Africa, entertaining, quick, lively, hard-working, great lad as well, lovely guy. You know, and always organised. Lebeni Wakwanko, top left-footed centre-back, was at Lille for 3 years, still young, 23. You know, had a solid game. Long balls, short balls, great defensive tackle at the end in the last minute. So yeah, they've got the nucleus of a good side. I think just against South Africa, they've got to keep the shape, be organised, because South Africa will go at them as well because they need to win the game. So that was a surprise, a nice surprise though. I think Equatorial Guinea have showed, they've showed some good moments, getting a draw and then winning, giving himself a massive chance to qualify with 4 points right so far. They have. I mean they've got Ivory Coast now, so but it's they've done really well. And then apart from that, I don't really think there's been much of a surprise or a shock. I think Cape Verde, somebody said to me the other day, oh yeah, but Cape Verde, wow. I said, yeah, but Cape Verde is a good side when they want to be. I mean, they've showed themselves before at AFCON. Yeah. Generally, they win at home. I know they've got the artificial turf, which a lot of countries struggle to play on. But I mean, they are a small footballing nation. Portuguese in nature, Portuguese in terms of their football. A lot of their players play in Portugal. So is it a shock they've done well? For me, not really. But they're there and they're there or thereabouts for the group. So I think in terms of surprises, I suppose the biggest surprise the biggest shock is probably Ivory Coast. Mm. Because, on paper I said they don't look super strong, but they've got good players in this squad. But I don't think it's as strong as years gone by. But they are at home. Mm. They have got the massive crowd. They are used to the conditions. So I would say that is a bit of a shock if they go out. And CAF will be mortified if they go out, because when the home nation goes out, it's not good. Yeah.
It's always difficult.
I don't know if they're going to go through, Phil. I really don't. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's the surprises and the shocks.
Yeah. Okay, something else I wanted to bring up was, to my untrained eye, it looked like the quality gap between the top teams and the bottom teams has shrunk a little bit. I know Tanzania got battered a little bit, but generally it seemed like most teams are now very, very professional. They've all got good training facilities or decent training facilities. A lot of their players are starting to play in top leagues around the world. It just felt like to me that this tournament, you started to see a little bit of a closing the gap between the top teams and the bottom teams. I don't know if you're more trained eye.
Yeah, look, I mean, there could be one or two things. You're definitely right that, in years gone by, you might not see a smaller country running around with as big a technical team or analysts or whatever it might be. I think you're seeing more of that now. So a lot of the FAs have put emphasis on the modern day game. So modern day game brings modern practices. So in-depth, analysis, data, whatever it may be. So I think a lot of the countries especially the lower countries, what we call the smaller countries, are picking up on that. I think, like you say, because the world is so global now for everybody, not just in Europe, but in other countries in the world, you'll see African players nearly in every country, in every part of the world. So they're getting that experience and bringing it back. I think there's a lot to do with the conditions, to be honest. So some of the players, even though they're African and playing in Europe, they're struggling with the conditions. Even if they're born and bred, in West Africa, they might still struggle if they're spending majority of the time in Europe, where the humidity is just alone in the Ivory Coast is extreme. I mean, I'm talking to people who were there just journalists and stuff and colleagues of mine who were there, watching our clients, and said, "Whoa, it's the humidity is bad." So, yeah, I think that's got a lot to do with it. And yeah, I mean the game generally globally has changed a lot, because of the influence of the things that I just pointed out. So, but it's good to see, because let's be honest, we want to see a competitive tournament because it makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
We want to see Gambia, beating a Senegal, for example, or giving them a great game, or you want to see Tanzania, going to beat Zambia. It's great for the tournament. So I'm not sure about the level, if I'm honest, in the early stages. I'm not sure the level's where it should be, in some games anyway. And I think that's got a lot to do with the conditions. Yeah, I think that's got a lot to do with the conditions. Just looking at, even though Egypt did well last night, you could just see, I think even Salah, when he was there, 37 degrees, 30% humidity. He made that run, and you could just see. I just think it's like it's really demanding. It's really demanding, and if you're not used to it, it sorts the men out from the boys, and it's not easy.
It's not quite Liverpool in January, is it?
It's definitely not Bootle in January. Yeah,
or Stoke on a cold Tuesday night.
on a cold windy night in Stoke. Yeah, so I think the conditions aren't really going to change that much, Phil, going forward. So I think it's going to be a tournament for the soldiers, to be honest. Hence why I've gone for Senegal, because I think Senegal have that steel around them.
Most depth in the squad, do you think? Do you think that'll be
a good all-round squad? I think they're covered in most areas.
Yeah,
I just think with Senegal, with their team and their country, I just think it means so much to them as well, and I think that makes a difference. They're a footballing nation, and it really means the world to them to win this tournament.
You've got some countries are happy to be there. Some countries just want to put on a decent performance, and then others that are desperate to win it.
Senegal, for me, they really, really want to do well.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Nigeria, because that's what I went with right at the beginning.
Nigeria the same though. Nigeria really, really want to do well in this tournament. It's been, I don't know how many years since they won it. I think I don't remember the last time they won it. I know JJ Okocha mentioned something yesterday, and I can't remember what he said, but it was kind of, he was saying this year, in terms of the previous year, falls in line with. Yeah, was it 2014 the last time they won it?
Is it like Tottenham when there's a 1 at the end of the year?
Something like that, but I don't know if it might have been. I can't remember if Nigeria won it in 2014. Did they? So 10-year gap. JJ was saying something along those lines. So Nigeria definitely for me now, given that result last night, will be there or thereabouts, 100%.
All right, so Nigeria for me, Senegal for you. We'll see how the second round of matches get on. Obviously, there was some games yesterday and the day before, but we'll see how we get on going forward. Just in terms of transfer window activities, anything exciting coming up for you? Is any moves coming off?
Look, we're always, January is always a topsy-turvy month for doing deals. Sometimes you can have a really, really busy window in January, and sometimes none. Sometimes very little. We've got one or two things bubbling, definitely. We're working on one or two good things. We've had some interest already in one of our players, if not two, from the AFCON, which is good. So you're always looking at that. Internationally, I don't know whether we're going to see a lot of activity. Even in England, I don't know if it's really kicked off yet.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit more financial fair play.
I think in England that's a big thing. Just listening to colleagues and stuff like that I think the financial fair play is a big thing. And then obviously you've got the players, the teams at the bottom, say in the Premier League, that are fighting to keep themselves up, so they don't want to let players go, or got to be careful what they do in the window, because if they do go down. I think that's the same in France, Germany. You know, teams fighting for survival. They want to gamble, but they don't want to gamble too much because of the finances. So, yeah, I mean, I think you'll see one. I think you'll see maybe one, if not two, big ones in England, like a shock.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's bubbling. I won't say that at the moment that I know, but I think you will see something happen that you probably wouldn't have seen coming. I think you might see the top 3 or 4 trying to strengthen. No, it's no secret. Chelsea will try and get a striker in. I think Arsenal will try and get a striker in. You know, but who's available and who can they get? That sort of thing. But it's going to be interesting. But from our perspective, yeah, 1 or 2 things bubbling, and we shall see. Watch this space, Mr. Double.
No real shock on Saudi Arabia starting to fall apart. Maybe Jordan Henderson off to Ajax.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, lots of money there. You know, and that's why, in a way, you go there. You're earning big buckaroos. It's not for everybody. Very, very, you know, weather's extremely hot. Conditions are not for everybody. You know, lifestyle's not for everybody. So, yeah, I mean, he's come back. He's gone to Ajax, which again was probably one that you wouldn't have saw coming.
No.
If he was going to leave,
Premier League,
probably Premier League, you know, or maybe a Bundesliga or something. But Ajax, but I'm sure, you know, he's at the stage of his career where happiness, family life, you know, etc. is more important now, and probably he's looked at that and thought, you know what, it'd be a really good move, good project, want to be here, want to help them. So yeah, be interesting to see what happens now with the rest. Be interesting to see what happens in Saudi Arabia going forward. And
yeah, a lot of rumours about Benzema going off somewhere.
Yeah, I've been linked with Manchester United on a loan deal.
Reportedly not been happy out there ever since.
Yeah, he's actually said today he's committed to it, but you never know. But will we see him, you know, like we saw with the Nigerian striker came to Man United on loan from that region. Igalo came on loan and did really well at Man United when he came. So will we see that? That'd be exciting for the Premier League to get Benzema at Man United. Yeah. I'd like to see that. I mean, that could really, that could kickstart their little bit of a revival. But where will Jose end up? That's the other thing. Could he make a return to Man United?
Saw some rumours, possibly Newcastle at the end of the season with Eddie Howe going up to England.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting because I think everybody, well, majority of us love Jose. You know, I'd love to see Jose in the Premier League. He's a great guy. His record speaks for himself, or for itself. You know, he's won things wherever he's been. He's a media dream.
And some citizens of Rome.
He says it as it is. He's a love. No, the Roma fans are upset. But he did a good job there, Phil. I mean, he turned that club around. I mean, he got them playing some attractive football.
European trophy, European final.
You know, Tammy Abrahams now was with him in Rome. You know, did well. Chris Smalling was there, did well. Is there?
Got Lukaku back as well.
Lukaku. So you know. Will we see Tammy coming back to the Premier League? Always like Tammy Abrahams. I think, you know, for the Premier League, I mean, I love watching him play. He gives everything, work rate, touch. I love watching him play. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see if he could end up back in the Premier League. But it'll be interesting to see in January what happens. But I don't see a wow, but I see a oof. Didn't see that coming. Yeah, not a wow, but a oof. So yeah. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Be interesting to see.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that's enough on this one. We'll reconvene again at some time again in the future and talk about the next round of games. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, always happy to receive a like on the video. Subscribe if you're not already, and we will see you again in the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.